America, 1864. A time of change. Tensions between the North and South had never been higher. The country was falling apart. War, tragedy, and despair. Alas, beneath the darkness, a hero is born. One man would rise above and change the course of history as we knew it. That man was George Washington Carver. Yes, George Washington Carver, the Peanut Man. Our hero George would revolutionize farming and practically save it during a time where crops were dying and agriculture was at its lowest point due to droughts and poor farming techniques. Pesky boll weevils. Not only would he redesign farming, but he would also generate money for the economy in a time of need, find hundreds of uses for common vegetables and nuts, and teach thousands of students for years. You want your peanut butter crunchy or smooth? Shockingly, Carver's actual birth date is unknown, but it's been most commonly speculated to be between 1864 and 1865. Born into slavery in Diamond, Missouri, Carver was kidnapped and thrown into Kentucky, but then brought back to his original owner, Moses Carver, quickly after the kidnapping. 1865. The war came to an end, and of course, slavery is forever abolished in Missouri. Moses kept George and his far less important brother James, and raised them as his own children. In the house, the two were taught by Susan, Moses' wife, due to the fact that racial tension was still very real and no schools would accept any black kids. A bright kid, that George. At the age of 11, he would walk a tedious 10 miles to a black school, where his thirst for knowledge became ever greater. Carver was always interested in education, and continued studying and traveling until he eventually made it to Simpson College in 1890. One of George's many hidden talents was painting. He studied the arts and piano at Simpson, painting botanical-based pieces. Interested in nature and botany since being only a young tyke, George pursued the study of botany and transferred from Simpson to Iowa State Agricultural College in 1891. It was here that Carver's career really began to take off. Not only was Carver the first black student at Iowa State Agricultural College, but he was also so incredible that he was asked to stay and work at the school, becoming the school's first black faculty member as well. Carver stayed and his reputation quickly spread for his groundbreaking work with soil study and crop rotations. A large problem with farming was the decimation of the country's most commonly grown crop, cotton. This is thanks to Carver's sworn enemy, the boll weevil. They only have one goal, and that is to eat as much cotton as they can. However, Carver uses mad agricultural knowledge to defeat the mighty boll weevil. Carver suggested to farmers everywhere to plant soy in depleted soil where they would normally plant cotton. This would add nitrogen to the soil and over time fertilize the soil immensely. This act is commonly known as crop rotation. A crop rotation is when another crop is planted to replace a main crop at a different time of the year, making up for time or even loss of the main crop. This act replenishes the soil and makes it healthier and stronger for the main crop while simultaneously raising a different crop. Many farmers learned this information from Carver and started using the method while farming. This helped end the depletion of cotton and also introduced farmers to many new crops. Carver's selfless and innovative acts made his reputation grow even more, to the point he was recognized by Booker T. Washington. In 1896, Washington wanted Carver to run the Tuskegee Institute's agricultural department and sent him a letter asking if he would join the institute even without much pay. That slag dog Carver did just that. Beginning in 1896, the Tuskegee Institute would become Carver's home, lab, and life. As previously mentioned, George was a very innovative man. To teach his classes, he invented the Jessup wagon, a horse-drawn classroom and laboratory used for demonstrating the effects of crop rotation. The carriage moved around an area with a crop rotation in place, while Carver pointed out and explained what was happening, why it was happening, and how it was effective. And what crop did he use to demonstrate with? No, not potatoes, not zucchinis. Close, but not zucchinis. That is right. Buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen. The mighty peanut. Carver did study various crops that could be used for crop rotation, like sweet potatoes and soybeans, but he mainly focused on the peanut. Even more farmers than before began implementing this technique, making the growth of cotton larger and better than ever, along with plenty of peanuts being grown simultaneously. With more peanuts around than ever before, Carver decided to study and conduct research on the nut. And this is where our hero we know and love was truly born. Carver spent only a week in his lab and came up with multiple new uses for the peanut. Over time, he was able to come up with over 300 uses for the peanut. Flour, paste, protein, insulation, paper, wallboards, wood stains, dyes, soap, shaving cream, skin lotion, you name it. Carver was even able to create medical uses for the peanut, including a peanut oil massage cream that helped many people, including children, gain relief from the terrible and painful effects of polio. Gotta stay away from that polio. This made the sales for the peanuts soar, and agriculture was producing a large income for the South once again. Fast forward to another devastating period for the U.S., the 1930s, the Great Depression. The economy, worse than ever. Who comes in to save the day? Carver. George Washington Carver. By 1938, peanuts were raising $200 million a year in the U.S. alone, and had become the main crop that was grown in Alabama. The peanut, by itself, was generating millions of dollars every year, tremendously helping out the economy, and the South especially. All of this was heavily influenced by Carver's findings, and would not have happened hadn't it been for him. Cha-ching. Throughout all of his research and attributions to farming and the country itself, Carver continued teaching at the Tuskegee Institute. Carver joined the institute in 1896 and taught until his heartbreaking death in 1943. A total of 47 years of teaching new and exciting techniques for farming and the science behind botany. Amazingly, while executing all of his research, creating vegetable-based inventions, and finding new uses for peanuts and other crops, Carver was still able to teach. He was still able to teach, even while joining and becoming a permanent member of a frat. Phi Beta Sigma, baby. That's right. Not only was Carver big in the crop life, but also in the frat life. With all of this that would and should hold anybody else back, all of his accomplishments, Carver maintained and continued to teach thousands of students over the years, sharing his knowledge to the generations to come. As previously mentioned, Carver suffered a tragic, sudden, heartbreaking death. It was not by boll weevils. Boll weevils did not get him, but a rather unexpected devious villain. The staircase. On January 5th, 1943, George Washington Carver, at the mighty age of 78, died, accidentally tripping and falling down the stairs. This was a very tragic and heavy loss for many, myself included, 72 years later, when I found out how he passed. George Washington Carver was a genius, putting it lightly. A selfless man who shared anything he learned or discovered to help the public. He changed farming forever, molded many into bright, powerful farmers through his teaching, and helped America in dire times of need. Carver lives on today in many ways. The George Washington Carver Monument stands in Diamond, Missouri, Carver's birthplace. You can visit the George Washington Carver Museum and Cultural Center in Austin, Texas, and learn about Carver and other influential black individuals. Carver also lives on through his tremendous work, his research, his creations, and through us, the people. Rest in peace, George Washington Carver, and may you live on forever. I will now end with a quote from the man himself. When you can do the common things of life in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world.